It was December a few years ago, and I was done. D-O-N-E, put a fork in me. And I decided I could not do Christmas like this anymore. All the joy and peace was completely gone. My favorite time of the year had turned into the most stressful. I made some obvious changes, of course, took some things off my plate, but there is one thing that I did that made all the difference. See, the sales still happen every year. It's still the biggest time of the year for business. Still, we have so many activities, gatherings, recitals, performances, and travel. All of that stuff remains. But what changed was my heart and where I focused it. You want to know the main key to delete the stress from Christmas? It is receiving a gift. It's tuning your heart to receive the gift of baby Jesus. Do you want that peace that encompasses Christmas actually during the Christmas season? Then join the Jesus is the Main Gift Challenge. There is still time. If you're listening in real time, it's going on right now, this week, December 9th through December 13th. But you can join in and make your 5 days start now. You can make them start next week. No matter where you are in the world, you can tap in and have your most peaceful Christmas yet. Oh, and also, there are gift giveaways, and they might just be the best gifts you receive this year. I definitely know that if you participate, you will get the best gift ever. So friend, you have nothing to lose. Go right now to join this free challenge at www.theshanwright.com/prayer challenge. www.theshanwright.com/prayer challenge. Or the link is in the show notes. I cannot wait to join you in prayer. Now, Amy is a wife. She is a mom to 4 kids under 6 and a chaos coordinator like you. She has a podcast called Master Organized Motherhood, and we met through our podcasting program. Amy learned how to not do it all, but live each motherhood day with intention and purpose for more peace. That's our girl. So today she has 3 ways to organize your mental wellness. So let's dive right in. Hey mama, are you stressed by the lack of time in the day to do all the things? Are you feeling disconnected from God, your husband, and even your kids because patience and presence seem out of reach? Do you want a healthier body, mind, spirit, and home, but overwhelmed in where to start? Hey, I'm Shan Wright, daughter of the king, wife, mom to 4, RN, wellness coach, and I know very well what it feels like to want to live well, but about to lose it with my very blessed full life. After realizing I can't pour from an empty cup, I tracked my way to whole body wellness and so much peace. If you are ready to cancel the stressed out life, learn tactical, intentional strategies as a mom wearing many hats, find more peace, confidence, and joy raising kingdom kids, then listen in. Come on, mama, together we got this. Really, God's got this. So go heat up that coffee again and turn your listening ears on. Let's chat. All right, I'm super excited to have another friend on the show today. We met in a podcast coaching program, and we are now friends, accountability partners in this accountability group. And so I'm so excited to talk on the podcast to my friend, Amy. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Shannon. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I am so excited to be here. Yes, it has been fun getting to know you and to hear your journey and your stories. And yeah, like you said, being biz accountability partners too. So it has been really fun. And I know other people have said this about you too, but you are truly a very bright person. And we love that about you. So thank you for having me here.
Well, thank you so much. That's so sweet. So I have loved getting to know you over the past year but I would love my listeners to get to know you a little bit. So can you just share 3 things that you are loving right now?
I would love to do that. So, yes, my name is Amy, and I am a fellow busy mom, just like Shannon. So, three things that I'm loving right now are Christmas coming up. I love the coziness of Christmas time, the celebrations, celebrating Jesus's birth and all that, and spending more time with family and friends. I love this time of year. I love coziness, things slowing down. We're up in Canada, and yeah, it's the time of year too when things get cold, of course. So I love being home and cozy. And then I love coffee and candles, which I feel like goes so nicely with this time of year. And my third favorite thing is organizing all the things all the time.
Well, I kind of relate to all three of those, although organization is not my expertise like it is yours, but I really do love it, especially when I make the time for it. It's the after effect, right? Like you're like, wow, that felt so good. Okay. So I secondly love to start the show with your testimony and just to hear a little bit of where God has brought you, the story that he's writing inside of you, and why as a busy mom today, you are a master organizer, as that's your, I say that because that's your podcast show. That's what it's called, right? Master Organized Motherhood. Yes. How did you get from there to here? Go as far back as you want, wherever you want to start, but I would love to know your testimony a little bit.
Wonderful. Yeah, I would love to share that. So yeah, it has been quite a journey, and I feel like God has kind of always had it on my heart. Like I've always been someone that was passionate about organizing. Even as a kid, I would like organize my mom's pantry for fun type thing. But also, it's kind of funny. Like I didn't quite realize just how many similarities we had with each other until I've like learned more about your story, your testimony. And so I really relate to what you said as like being the like kind of perfectionist kid, the kid that was always trying to yeah, be quiet, be good, all those things. And in a way, I think that that kind of was part of my personality with like being someone that liked to be organized and in control of things. But yeah, so I, like you, I have four kids. My oldest is 7 and my youngest is 18 months. So I'm pretty busy with that. We live on a farm up in Canada, which is fun as well. So yeah, we have some similarities that way. And also, I also used to be a nurse. So that's also kind of a fun similarity that we have together, which I think is
Yes.
wonderful. Yeah, so kind of funny that way. So, kind of how everything started for me was my motherhood started like fast and furiously. My first three kids were born less than 3 years, with like all three of them less than 3 years apart. So it was busy. It was a crazy time. And like I said, I was someone that always liked to be organized. And when things started to feel unorganized, it brought up that anxiety, that perfectionism, those kind of tendencies that I had, which I had always thought I was controlling them by being organized. But yeah, once you get thrown into the busyness of motherhood, you have to do things differently and you can't really be like organized the same way anymore. So, kind of what triggered it all for me was after my third was born. During her pregnancy, she was diagnosed with a medical condition in utero. And that kind of really threw my world for a spin because suddenly I felt like I had no control over anything in my life. Everything was totally, totally out of control. And so the biggest thing that happened as a result of that was after the dust had settled, she was born, she had her surgery that she needed, and things kind of started to settle down a little bit. God had brought us through that difficult time as a family. When all the dust settled from that, I realized that if I wanted to be able to kind of start finding some peace in my home again, I realized it actually needed to start with myself and that I was the one that was struggling with those anxiety and perfectionist tendencies. And so what I discovered was that if I started off by organizing myself first, it really helped me to be in the right place to take care of my family well, to serve them, to love them, to do all the things I wanted to do. I had always wanted to be a mom. It was my dream to be a mom, but because it was harder than what I thought it was going to be. And like, I thought it would just be so easy, like, having kids, it's no problem. And to stay organized and sane through it all is no problem. But I quickly came to realize that it wasn't going to be that way. And that if I wanted to really thrive in motherhood, I was going to have to find ways to get organized and take care of my family well, but without holding on to all of those past perfectionist and anxiety kind of producing tendencies. So that kind of brought me to the place where I felt really led by God to create this business, this online business, where I now feel passionate about helping other busy moms that are struggling with feeling organized, to really help them to learn, where should we start? What's important in this phase of life? What should we be focusing on? And ultimately, at the end of the day, what are your goals and priorities in how you choose to show up for your family every day? And how can you support them by supporting yourself as well? So that's, in a way, a nutshell, my testimony of how I got to where I am today.
Yeah, no. Oh my gosh, I did not know all the similarities that we had. And I think it's interesting because like your brain went to organize, and my brain, when I was in that space, what was to go to track. Like God showed me a wellness tracker in my brain and was like, I want you to track these things that you like, kind of like laid out a system for me personally to follow. And so I now teach my clients tracking, but you teach systems and organizing, and it's so similar, but it's like if your brain sees it the different way, that's who, you can speak to and you can help. Because again, I think a lot of us are alike, and we can help each other with the way that we're wired, and how, the fellow mom that comes alongside of us, how she's wired just like us, and we can really speak to that. So I love that. But tell me more about, you did say you were a nurse. So at what point were you in nursing? And then what led you to be a coach? I know God wants you to share your story so you can help others, but what led you to be a podcaster and a coach?
Yeah, so basically, I went to school for psychiatric nursing, which up here it's like a 2.5 year program. We got married, my husband and I got married in the middle of nursing school. So that also speaks to my personality, because I was like doing my wedding in the middle of nursing midterms, like kind of
No
crazy
big
looking back
deal.
on it. No big deal. And then shortly after we got married, we found out we were expecting already. And we always knew we wanted to start a family right away, but we didn't actually think it was going to happen so quickly. And then in that pregnancy, I was actually kind of diagnosed with just a minor issue where then I wasn't allowed to work as well. So I actually only got to work for a very short amount of time before I began my maternity leave. And then too, with my kids being born so quickly together, I was never able to make it back into nursing, but I always have had this spirit of kind of wanting to help people and wanting to serve people. And then when I wasn't able to do it through the lens of nursing anymore, then I just kind of kept having this feeling of like, I need to help people in some way. So that's kind of how I felt like God was starting to lead me and guide me towards all of this. And then yeah, because we met through a mutual podcasting coach. I felt like, okay, I really want to help people, and I like to use my voice to do so. So maybe I'll start a podcast and go about it that way. And then through the podcast, I just kind of continue to feel this desire to come alongside moms and women that are struggling, and just to be able to really be like, not so much like a big sister, because I mean, people might look at me and think like, you're pretty young, you don't have that much life experience. Like, how can you possibly help me? But just to come alongside them as like a friend and be like, this is my experience with it. These are the struggles I had, and this is how I came through it and overcame it. And let's find a way to help you through what you're struggling with, because I don't want you to get to the place where I was at. I was in such a deep, bad place when I was in the depths of like postpartum anxiety and depression after my third was born, and after all those medical difficulties we had. And I felt like I was able to claw my way back up out of that and through that, like with the Lord's help, of course. But
Yeah.
I felt like he was showing me that I needed to settle my brain down. I needed to get my brain organized again. I needed to come up with a way of managing the day-to-day stressors of taking care of busy household, young kids, busy home, and get back on track with that. And as he showed me that thing, what I felt like he showed me was that there are kind of three crucial components to being organized. And so those three components, it kind of will tie into like sharing the systems that I believe all moms should put into place to get organized later on. But I believe those three things, it's kind of, I like to think of it as like three circles, you know, like those Venn diagrams from school where the
Yeah.
circles are connected to each other. And that if in the middle, if we want our middle to be organized, peaceful, happy home that is serving our family well, there's three parts. And that part is mom being organized, the family being organized, and the home, the stuff, the clutter being organized. And when all those things are in balance, we can support the peaceful, happy, beautiful homes that we want to have for our families. So I felt like as God like kind of showed me that vision, then I started to implement those things. And I was like, wow, this is actually really working for me. This is really helping me to get back out of that bad place that I was in, to kind of get control over my three crazy kids under age 3, to get control of the messes in the house, and to get myself back on track again, to set some goals for myself, to prioritize my wellness, to have goals of like actually spending time in the word and
Hmm.
all those things that hadn't been happening because I hadn't been prioritizing. So that's why I resonate with your story so much too, as you shared how the Lord showed you 4 aspects of wellness to focus on. And so like
Yeah.
you said, we're like similarities, but then how we managed it were like kind of different, but the same in a way. And
Yeah.
that's, I just resonate with your story so much too.
Yeah, because you have that nurse's heart. And so it's a nurse's heart, and it's also very closely tied. Nursing and motherhood, I think, are just so go hand in hand. I just love how you were like, I just want to help people. And that feels like, an identity from God that like he made you with something to help. And we can do that in so many different ways, but he's leading you and directing you, and you're going through the open doors. And, it was probably a random come across of this podcast coach that where you're like, oh, podcasting. That's, so I just think that's amazing. And thank you for sharing your story, because that's why I want to bring testimonies on this show, is to encourage other people to use their voice and to share their story, because that takes courage. And every time you do that and you step out in courage, it builds confidence, and it builds confidence in where God is taking you. And it builds confidence for the listener to say, oh, I can do that too. And now I can take that step forward, that courageous step, even though it might be scary to talk about my story with a friend, but I can do that because then I'm going to build confidence on the next step of where to go. So thank you for doing that, because I think that's so helpful for others to hear and to learn. And I love that you're like, I don't want this friend next to me to be where I was, because it was such a sad place. And I want to help them before they get there. So you talk about these ways that we can organize our mental wellness in the 3 circles. Is there more to that, how we can, or is that the systems that go along with it?
Yeah, so I have a couple. Yeah, I think that's the cool thing about us too, is that we both believe that our mental wellness and our holistic wellness is so important. And maybe that comes from the nursing, but it is so
Yeah.
important. And so, as far as like the organizing yourself as a mom side of it
Yeah.
goes, as far as that like mental organization and wellness goes, I think that there are a couple things that we need to prioritize and focus on. And these are some of the things that I did as well as kind of the first steps to getting going. It's so funny. Ironically, my story kind of starts of where this transformation happened in January. And I know it's like so cliche, but it truly was the start of a new year and the start of a completely new kind of life of how I started to look at things. And I started to look at things like, if I want things to be better, I have to be better. Like I have to do certain things that will support me in being able to make things better. And so some of those things I did was I started planning my day faithfully every single day. At the end of the day, each day, or like in advance, if I had more time, I would make some serious plans for like, what is this week going to bring? What are my top priorities? As a busy mom, things can get thrown at you like left, right, and center. I also help my husband with our farm, like with running kind of the bookkeeping side of our farm. And so sometimes like he throws kind of random things at me too, which is fine. I love it. But you have to have a plan in order to make sure that your other things don't fall off track. So I started making plans. I started using a planner and being really serious about that. I started setting, like I said, priorities and goals. And the third thing I focused on was progress over perfection. I started continually telling myself that every little step forwards you take is a step in the right direction. You might have setbacks, you might take a few steps backwards here and there, but that's okay because your mind and heart is still pointed forwards. Your mind is still pointed towards those goals, and you are taking small daily actions towards reaching those goals. And so I think for me, when I'm telling a busy mom to start organizing her mind, to start taking focus of that, I ask her, what are your goals? What are your priorities? And I think that's where we both, try to help them do the same things, to see what are some things you want to focus on right now to help you start gaining that momentum to move forwards. And then how do you plan that into your day? How do you plan that into your week? How do you not get discouraged when things go wrong and continue to take small steps? So on my podcast, I'm always telling my listeners, progress over perfection. Organization is not this island, this like destination, fancy island that we're going to get to one day. And then once we get there, life is just hunky-dory. We're on vacation for the rest of our life. That's not how it is. Organization is actually a daily journey. It is a daily process that we have to continually choose to walk on. And so I always tell them that I am just coming along right one step ahead of you, like holding your hand saying, don't step on that because, that part was hard. Let's go this way. So it's taking that daily action, so those are the three main things that I think we need to focus on as busy moms when we want to get mentally well and more organized.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how I always say your intentions are a hill of beans. It's like we have to take that daily action or they will continue just to be intentions, and it'll continue to add to the mess, to the clutter, to the stuff in our minds and in our homes. And so we have to take that daily action to get rid of it and organize it. That's so good. And I love how on your podcast you share systems to help us organize and keep it that way. Because that is the thing. It's like, gosh, why am I going to do the laundry again when it's just going to pile up the next day? So for a mom that is drowning in laundry, keeping up with the kids and all their activities, schoolwork, and doesn't even want to think about dinner again, and she's already made it 5 times this week, why does she have to make it for the 6th time? What systems should she start with to help all of it? Because it's like, can be overwhelming, right? Like, where do I start?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. That's the tricky part, especially if you aren't someone who kind of naturally feels like you have that organization as an inherent quality in yourself. Where do we begin when things feel like such a struggle, so much stress? Every day feels like chaos. Like you can't even, I know what it's like to not even have 5 minutes to yourself to think between, can I have a snack? Can I have a toy? All these things. So in relation to the 3 aspects of organized motherhood that I feel like we need to focus on, the personal life organization, the family management, and the home organization, those 3 circles that fit beautifully together. I believe that we need to have one important system in place in each of those circles to get the ball rolling, to kind of start getting things into place. And so when we're looking at those systems, the very first one is we want to organize ourselves, right? Because that's the first step, is that mommy mental organization. So the system that comes into there is kind of what I touched on before, starting to plan your day. It doesn't have to be crazy. You don't have to have a fancy planner with all the stickers and glitter if you don't want to. It can be as simple as make some intentions for the next day. Start actually saying, okay, tomorrow I have an appointment, but I also want to get this done. And start organizing your brain a little bit. Don't count on your brain to remember all the things, because it can't. It's not going to. And so then the second system that we would start to build on, as we are looking at now family management, because that's the second circle, would be a meal planning system, a simple meal planning system, because in the majority of households, you're going to be cooking food every day. So I feel like that's one of the crucial next things to get organized, because it helps take that much more mental clutter off your plate as well. So my simple meal system, I'm just going to throw it at you, is as simple as don't overcomplicate it and recreate the wheel month after month. Pick some meals that your family loves to eat and simply repeat your menu, and you can throw a couple extra new recipes in there here and there on a night when you have time, but keep it simple, especially if you're in a super crazy time of life where you're running to this and that. Keep it simple. I think your family is happier to be fed and with the foods they love versus you being stressed and not having any food on the table. And then the third aspect we want to look at is the home organization. How do we organize our home to help bring more peace into this picture? And so the system that I first get them to focus on in that is mostly decluttering type things. So to focus on getting one thing out of your house a week and making sure that before you bring new things in, you're asking yourselves some of those questions of, do I really need this? Do I really want this extra clutter in my home? And so kind of focusing on minimizing the stuff to help bring down that mental clutter. So those are my top 3 systems that I recommend.
Oh, I love them. They all are so simplified that it's like, okay, I can do that. I can do those 3 systems. So I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. And thank you for all your wisdom that you shared today. Where can our listeners find those systems and get in touch with you?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been so great. It has been a long time coming, and I am so happy to be
I know.
here. Thank you for that. So you can come hang out with me on my podcast. It is called Master Organized Motherhood. And I teach simple home organization systems for busy work from home moms or stay-at-home moms in this busy time of life with little ones at home. And I'm still in the trenches right there with you. And you can, I have a checklist that you can download. So it is a free daily toy tidying up checklist. So it kind of helps you and the kids to walk through a daily toy tidy. And so you can get that checklist by going to www.plan2mom.com/checklist. And I'm sure Shannon will have it in the show notes for you.
Yes.
But again, it's just PLANTOMOM. So plan2mom, because we plan.com/checklist. And you can get a daily toy tidy checklist from me there. And I would
that's
love to see you
great.
over there.
Yes, that's so great. And yes, go hang out with Amy over on her podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. For the listeners, she's had a baby on her lap pretty much the whole time. And so she is definitely the master organized motherhood that you want to go hang out with and see how she does it all.
Thank you so very much for having me. It has been a joy to talk with you today.
Thanks so much, Amy. Hey, Wellness Warrior. I pray that blessed you. And if so, it would bless me big if you would write a 5-star review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Not only would this make me super happy, but it will allow for others to find this show too. Also, I love to chat over on Instagram, so make sure to take a screenshot, share to your Instagram stories, and tag me at the Shan Wright, so I can see it and we can keep chatting and bring other moms to chat with us. Until we get to chat again, mama friend, may the Lord's face shine upon you and give you peace.